This is Rummys Corner. Oleksandr Usyk sure did make a mess of things when he recently shook up the heavyweight landscape. We are in uncharted territory. Indeed, it's like the Wild West out there. It all started when Usyk decided to vacate the remaining 3 belts from his unified collection. Usyk had technically twice been undisputed at heavyweight, which was a technicality and also ironic given that Usyk never once defended the undisputed crown. Now Usyk tossed the alphabet trinkets, despite also announcing he would not be retiring. This is unprecedented. Never in the modern alphabet history of the sport has a heavyweight champion dumped 3 belts at once without retiring. All the same, Usyk remains the one and only true lineal world heavyweight champion for as long as he's active, making the rest of the alphabet belts a complete and total joke. Case in point, Daniel Dubois is the reigning WBO champion, and he was dominated and knocked out by Usyk in both of their fights. Agit Kabiel was Usyk's upcoming WBC mandatory, and he has now been promoted as the WBC Real McCoy. The IBF remains vacant, but the so-called regular WBA champion, Murat Gassiev, he got promoted as the real WBA champion, which is another joke really. No disrespect to Gassiev, but the fact that the WBA regular belt even still exists is a huge joke in its own right. Of course, Usyk had the real belt, the WBA Super Duper Deluxe. But now Gassiev is the WBA belt holder, the same guy who was outboxed and beaten by Otto Wallin a few years back, which is not that long ago based on modern heavyweight activity. Gassiev has another loss to Usyk, albeit at cruiserweight, but you get the picture. 2 of the 3 alphabet titleists have already lost to Usyk, making their belts utterly worthless, at least for as long as Usyk is fighting professionally, and that's true of the other 2 as well. Make no mistake, Usyk is the one and only real heavyweight champion. Before Usyk dumped the belts, Gassiev was supposed to defend his minor WBA regular trinket against Tony Yoka, but then Usyk shook up the world, and then Yoka pulled out with injury, and for a brief moment, it looked like Juggernaut Joe Joyce might step in as a late replacement. Even though he lost 4 of his last 5, he is at least a known name, but he must not be paying a vig to the WBA at this time, because they rejected him. But they gladly accepted Peter Kadiru. Guess which one is paying the WBA a vig? Via something called the WBA Continental Europe title. So here we are, and we have a heavyweight title fight between Gassiev, a man who has beaten no one of note at heavyweight, and Kadiru, a man most boxing fans probably never even heard of. It's a very bizarre situation that Usyk has brought before us, following his tougher than expected victory in the crossover fight against kickboxer Rico Verhoeven. The only reason Gassiev even holds that WBA belt is because he beat 45-year-old Kubrat Pulev last December, a man who had been stopped by the great Vladimir Klitschko more than a dozen years ago. You cannot make this stuff up. Pulev was the WBA regular champion, despite being a non-factor in the heavyweight division since he was brutally stopped against AJ in his last bid for a real major world title. And then Kadiru is coming off a 10-round unanimous decision victory against Sanad Gashi, although it should probably be said that even though that fight was later framed as a clear, disciplined victory, there are a number of vocal dissenting voices out there who believe Gashi got robbed in Germany. Bottom line, this has to be one of the most obscure heavyweight title fights in quite a long while, where neither the champion nor his challenger is held in especially high esteem by the boxing world at large. That being said, Gassiev is the more proven talent, plain and simple, and his skill and power should be enough to get Kadiru out of there probably sooner than later. So for my official prediction, I am going with Murat Gassiev by second round knockout. I think his power should shine here, and that there is a clear gap in terms of skills. But as always, what the hell do I know? I ain't exactly Quasimodo over here. And even though this isn't a matchup that I was ever especially interested in seeing, it is a heavyweight fight with a major world title on the line, which can be viewed as the first chapter following Usyk's decision to dump his remaining alphabet belts, which will all remain completely worthless for as long as Usyk is actively competing. This Saturday, the 11th of July, live on DAZN. Murat Gassiev versus Peter Kadiru. Click the link in the description to get DAZN now. Who do you think will win? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed and have a wonderful night. This is Rummys Corner.
You know, Quasimodo predicted all this.
Who did what?